gosh, I just love that. I want that to be like my ringtone.
It's so fun.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Sparkle Self-Mastery with Nicole. I am so grateful to be here with my amazing friend. I'm so honored to call you a dear friend, Laura Duksta. Mwah, 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 mwah.
So good to be here with you, Nicole. I love that this has worked out and that we're able to do this.
Yes. Laura is a New York Times best-selling author. She is a motivational speaker. There's so much about the beauty that you are. The main thing is you are the ambassador of love. Can you expand a little bit on that and how that came to be?
Yeah, it is my title, and I always put that first before author of the New York Times bestseller or New York Times bestselling author. I believe that I think that was how I was born into the world. And it was about when I was 7 or 8 years old. I was learning something in Sunday school. And I'm also going to say probably in school about Martin Luther King Jr., but specifically in Sunday school, I remember learning about Jesus. And he was teaching that we were all brothers and sisters. And it felt like a scene from Charlie Brown, where the teacher was going, won't, 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 but I was hearing, Jesus means we're all brothers and sisters. And because of that, we're meant to love one another. And he means everyone. He means he doesn't care what religion you are, what language you speak, what race you are, where in the world you live. We're all meant to love one another. And I had this thought or feeling like we can like or dislike somebody's thoughts or actions or what they stand for, but love is a given. And I remember just wanting to throw my hand in the air and be like, one day I'm going to travel the world, meet my brothers and sisters, and share the message of love.
And you're doing it. That is amazing. Wait, how old were you when this moment happened in your life?
About 7 or 8. So about 2nd or 3rd grade, when I awakened that seed that I believe was planted in our heart. So I heard that message in my heart. Now, did I head out the door ready to share the message of love? No. I really, I think that God, the universe, source heard that and said, okay, you want to do, you're up for that. That's what you came here for. And of course, I feel like I did.
Yeah.
So I was presented with big challenges that would teach me even more or expand my awareness of love, compassion, empathy, life itself. Does life go on after death? So I was given these experiences in my life, like my hero's journey. And then all of a sudden I had the idea for a book, and I didn't realize till after the book was published, and it was like, oh, I'm taking that one's going to Toronto, that one's going to Australia, that one's going to Malaysia. And I was like, oh, I'm traveling the world and sharing my message of love. And then I said, so.
Oh, wow. And did you just went back to when you were a child and you're like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I got reconnected to that, that thought. And I was like, that is what I said that I was here to do and what I wanted to do. Now, sometimes, right, the universe is kind of funny and you have to be clear about what you want. And I was like, hey, I meant me personally, physically, I'm going to travel the world. I want to go to every country and see all these places.
Do you have a map? Do you have a map where you've
have a map? Yeah.
Marked off? Oh my gosh. Awesome.
I have a map. I have a map marked where I've been. I have not fully played that game of where the book has gotten to. I know the languages that it's in, but I really would love to play that game, right? Just asking people, where in the world are you, and do you have the book, and show us. No, I was in awe that not only is my book published in different languages, but that my book and I'm grateful that my book can travel to different places around the world that I'll never make it to, different homes. We say homes, hearts, and classrooms around the world.
Yeah. This, I could not believe. Okay. First of all, this book is one of my daughter's favorite books. And I cannot believe the way we met. it just blows my mind. So I would say, cosmic connection, meant to be. But your word is
the swirly. I love the swirls. I love following the breadcrumbs and how things and people and souls are connected and meant to find one another. And I know that when we met, it was like, oh, good to see you again.
Our souls were just like, we were meant to be. Yes, it was swirly. So you will not believe how we met. So it was Healy, right? I was doing a post about Healy.
Well, it was in the Women Empowering Women group.
Yes, which has like over 400,000 people.
Yes. Yeah. I'm never in that group. Very rarely do I even see their posts. I saw a post, and it was a post that said, in 10 words, describe your service to the world without saying what it is.
There we go.
A post like that in that group has 2,000 comments within 5 minutes.
Yep.
I decided that I was going to post a comment, and then I scrolled through maybe about 50 comments, I'd say, probably not even that many. There were 2 people that caught my attention, you being one of them. I went to both of those pages. You talked about quantum healing frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
I went to both pages. You're the person that I reached out to. And you reached out, and
oh yes, and the rest is like, it was just, we were just chatting, via Facebook Messenger for a little bit, and then I said something about like we were going to schedule a meeting to chat about Healy more, and then I'm like, oh, but I'm going to be in Florida next week, and she's like, wait, I live in Florida, where are you going? And I'm like, well, the family has a condo in Fort Lauderdale, and then she's like, I live in Fort Lauderdale, and we were just like, what?
Yeah.
And then I realized that then we actually got on a Zoom call and started talking. And then I realized you're the author of my daughter's favorite book. Right. I was like, what?
And that, my friend, is the swirls. And not only was she going to be in Fort Lauderdale, that you were going to be about 1.5 miles away from my place on the beach that I walk every morning.
Yes.
And was this the first time that we met? It was March of 2021. And we went and met out at the beach.
Yes.
And we sat right beside the first giant turtle nest
oh my goodness.
of the year, of the season. It was huge. It hadn't been marked yet, but you could see the turtles' flipper prints coming up in the sand. And I see these turtle nests all the time. This one was the biggest that I've ever seen, and it was just
and it was off season. You were like,
it was a very beginning season. Yeah, it was the first, and I asked the turtle people, and they said it was the first one on Fort Lauderdale beach of the season, and there we were, just hours after that big mama had laid her eggs. So
it was so magical. It was just so magical, and I had just started getting into sun gazing, but you meet with friends every morning and you do sun gazing. And can you expand a little bit about that too?
Yeah, I've been walking the beach in Fort Lauderdale. I'm just a big fan of nature. I love the ocean. I love the mountains. I love lakes and rivers and trees and flowers and all of it. The birds and the bees. I've been walking that beach in Fort Lauderdale probably since 2008 and watching the sunrise. And then it was really special I used to have an old man that I walked that beach all the time with. He passed away in 2020 during the COVID experience. I was so grateful to live where I live and that I was able to be outside, fresh air, sunshine, and we swam in the ocean almost every day.
Yeah,
started meeting people, right, and things like that. There's gifts in every challenging or what we label as bad experience. People were nicer to one another. People. So I always say hello to people when I see them anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we started speaking a little bit more. The conversations went a little further than hello on the sidewalk. And I met a woman and we started walking together. And then we met 4 other women and they were like, come on, we need to swim in the ocean. And we became the Sunrise Sisters. And we spent almost every day during that year or those years walking in the morning and swimming in the ocean. It was magical.
Swirly. It's so
Yeah.
swirly.
So good.
Yeah, but then like we went, okay, so the first time that we actually met in person, we went to the beach. But then we were like, let's go grab lunch, right?
Yeah.
And I had planned maybe an hour and a half. We were there for 4 hours. We would not stop talking. Everything lined up. Literally everything in our life. We were just like, yeah, that's me. Yep. Yep, that's me. Yep. I want to do that. Let's do that together. Okay. That's like, so incredible.
I know.
So
It's family vacation time, and so challenging to take you away from that time with your girls and your family. But I'm soul family too, and
you're my soul family.
A gift it's been to connect with your daughters and your family, and get to know them. When we have the opportunity to be around children, you know this. I don't have children of my own, so when you get to be around children, especially just ones that are so tuned in to their essence and the magic and the gift of who they are, it's delightful.
Well, that's one thing that we also talked about is, yes, you do not have children of your own because you are a mother to children in the world.
Yeah,
you really take them in.
Yeah,
you really do. And what she did for my daughters was beyond priceless, and they will never, ever, ever forget it. Is you have 2 books out right now. I Love You More and I'll Hug You More, right?
Yep.
And then the book that she has in production, she actually came. It's called. Wait, what is it called?
Yeah. Huh? So what happened is I have 3 books that are published.
Yes.
And when I told you about my second book, which is You Are a Gift to the World.
That's the one. Yes.
And the world is a gift to you. You were just like, but I have to have that book.
Yes. And actually she at the beach, actually this was the first time, at the beach, she just told me the words of it and I started crying. It was, my soul was just like, yes, I connect. Like, yes, this is what the world needs. Yes, every child needs to hear these words. Like, my soul just knew the words already. It was so powerful, so powerful, so beautiful.
Yeah. So I have a handful, really, of copies left because this book has gone out of print. But there was something in our connection that I wanted you to have one. So I brought a signed copy for your girls.
Yes, it was
amazing. And though I think that was the connection, the interaction that really prompted me to say, like, I'm not okay with this book not being in the world. So I went ahead and turned it into like an ebook PDF, and I have it up on my website. And if you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, you receive the book as a free download. And it really came out beautiful, and it can be used on the tablet or the computer or the phone. And so it's there. And we're working on getting it back in print.
Yes. So as every mommy probably does at some point, the girls obviously love reading the books, but that book is incredibly special, right? So I put it up somewhere where they can't access it, so they can't hurt it, and now mommy can't find it. So it is here. I'm like, where did I put it?
It happens. It's okay. If you really need to read it again, you can access the PDF. And read it
I'm like, but you are not reading that book, girls.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. It's probably under somebody's pillow or under somebody's bed.
No. I put it up somewhere so that it was safe. Like it's in a very safe place, but mommy cannot remember where that safe place is in this moment. Yeah. Is what I'm saying.
I understand. So then the new book that we're working on will be my 4th book. And that's the No Matter What, You Are Loved. At the moment, we are using real pictures of children from around the world, and that's the goal. There's been a few recent changes and thoughts, and so it's and like all great creative adventures, it's a work in progress, and we'll see where it ends up. It's not always a straight line. My life hasn't been a straight line, nor have my books and my projects. So
exactly. And I mean, when you are in alignment with your true life's purpose, then you are able to really step into the fluidity of actually creating that, right? It doesn't need to be a straight line. It can be a swervy line. It can be, a line with obstacles and all this stuff, because then that actually makes you step into the power of what you're creating even more. When you fight for it, it means more, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we have to remember that just because something may be a little hard to grasp in this moment doesn't mean it's not meant for you. Just being in alignment is the key.
Yes. And like, as I got more clarity around how I really saw my life, what I wanted to be spending my time doing, did I want to, I was going, my publisher had passed on this project, but it was just a message that I knew was meant to be in the world.
Yes.
The beauty of it is that for as long as it's taken, things have changed that are so important. The book was, I love you no matter what. Then it was, no matter what, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
But with a couple of different meetings, I really saw that some people don't feel like they have in their life and I love you. Like a parent, they're struggling in those relationships. So by changing it to no matter what, you are loved. First of all, it makes it incredibly more readable in a school setting or a boys and girls club, but also for people struggling or working on healing their inner child.
Mm-hmm.
They can hear and take in, you are loved. Then recently there was a young girl who died by suicide. I've been corrected recently to not say committed suicide. It's not as if a person or a child commits a crime. They died by suicide, which is a small tweak, but really, I love that somebody pointed that out to me.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old that was being bullied because she has alopecia in middle school.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Yes. That made me be certain that I was missing a line in the book. And part of my core mission is that we know that no matter what's going on in our life or in the world around us, how truly loved we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then during that incident, I heard, no matter what others say or do, no matter what's going on in your life or in the world around you, always know you are loved.
Oh my goodness.
So if the book was written or completed sooner, it wouldn't have that in it. So Rio's gift, in addition to the message, making sure that that's in there.
Oh my goodness. And your books, can you explain the way that you write them? That you read it this way and then you turn it. Can you explain where did that come from? Like,
what I love about this, and we can talk about inspiration a little bit, is I was, so I graduated from college and I moved to South Beach, Miami, and for 3 to 6 months before going back to get my master's in social work. I had a degree in sociology. And 6 years later, I was still practicing being social as a bartender and manager at the Clevelander, right there on 10th and Ocean Drive. Anybody that's been to South Beach knows the Clevelander. And I was away at the opening of a nightclub with some girlfriends. One of our friends' brothers was opening up a club in Connecticut. So we had gone up for the opening to give the club a little South Beach flavor and style. And that night, I found myself praying for my sister. And I said, my sister was pregnant with her second child, but in a really challenging, terrible marriage. And she had called to say we got into a big argument, and usually I would drop everything and go over there. I couldn't do that because I was away. So that night I found myself praying for my sister. Interesting what happens when we get out of the way. So, because I said something like, dear God, my sister's going through a hard time and I can't be there. She really could use your help. Like just such a prayer that I hadn't prayed in a long time, to the point that I said, that's strange. I don't really pray like this anymore. I said that as I said the prayer, and something clearly answered me and said, your sister's fine. Pray for your nephew. I said, this is even stranger. Not only do I not pray like this, but something just clearly answered me.
Yes.
And as I began praying for my nephew, the whole idea for this book poured through me. to the point that I got up and pulled out a piece of hotel stationery and started writing the ideas down. And a friend woke up and said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm writing a children's book." I'd never aspired to be a writer.
Wow.
A thought. We can go back to second grade when I got my first bad grade in penmanship and made it mean my whole life that I was a bad writer, not that I write really messy sometimes. Still to this day, the only teacher that's found my book and recognized my last name and called me and had me come up and do a fundraiser in Massachusetts.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
Have we mentioned swirlies?
Swirly, yeah.
So swirlies. So you would think, so I wanted to touch on inspiration. You would think that when something pours through you so inspired like that I could have just typed it into the computer, sent it off to a publisher, and it would be a bestseller. But I picked up that piece of paper and I was like, oh, this is really specifically written for my nephew. I love you more than Barney. I love you more than my golf clubs. I love you more than my computer. I love you more than radishes, because he happened to be a 2-year-old who loved radishes. I love you more than gung gung. And I had underlined that as possibly the title. And when I go into schools, I ask the students, I'm like, "Do y'all know what gung gung is?" And they're like, "No." I'm like,
"What's gung gung?"
It's what my nephew would hold up his sippy cup when he couldn't say chocolate milk. If he wanted chocolate milk, he'd say gung gung, gung gung.
Oh, okay.
I tell the kids that all the cool kids call chocolate milk gung gung.
Oh, it's so cute.
So I knew that I had to edit it. I knew that it needed to be revised. So I worked on it until it was perfect. And then I showed my mother, who was a kindergarten teacher for 38 years. And she said, "You're off to a good start." She said, "And not every picture book needs to rhyme, but I really feel like this one should." I was not giving you my paper to correct it. It's part of in my school programs. I'm like, that's just the teacher in you. Do you know how long and hard I worked on this?
Yeah.
But after I calmed down, I considered what she said. I realized that she was right. I went back and I made the book rhyme. When I'd first written the book, it read like most all books that you find, from front to back, from left to right.
Right.
After I made it rhyme, I showed it to my sister, who by now I think was pregnant with her 4th child. And she said, "Oh, I think if you pulled out the mom's story and the son's story or the child's story and had them meet in the middle, the children would really love that." And I loved that idea. So that meant that I needed to rewrite the whole book, because now I was going to have the child ask the mother on this side, "Mommy, how much do you love me?" And then have the mother ask the child on this side and have them meet in the middle.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to me, because like God, source, inspiration planted the seed or gave me a piece of it, but it was meant to be a co-creation. It wasn't like, "Oh, here's the download. It's all done." It's like, we're in this together. And then so beautiful for me, actually, that my first 2 editors were my sister and my mother. That, my sister and my nephew were the catalyst that had this message pour through. So I say thank God that she was in a challenging, terrible marriage. And then, that they gave me those ideas, because we didn't do it on purpose. But then what ends up happening, so, you read to this page here where it says, "I love you more than anything in the whole wide world." And we get to say and see that, like love, the book really never ends. And it represents the infinite nature of love and the giving and receiving of love.
Yeah.
So I've done my next 2 books, the "You Are a Gift to the World," which flips over to "The World is a Gift to You" in that format. And also "I'll Hug You More," and the idea that we can't give a hug without receiving one. So it's got that right into it. The book is a hug.
It is. It's just amazing. They're all just like so much love. And obviously, because it came from you, the ambassador of love.
Yeah. Somebody asked me recently, like, he has a tendency to kind of pull things apart. He's like, "Oh, so you're like kind of saying like you're an ambassador for God, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of am." And I kind of think that, that mostly that's who we are. Maybe that's who we all are. And some of us have remembered that and some of us haven't. And it will show up in different ways, Of course, we're not all meant to write books, but maybe we don't all see ourselves as ambassadors of love. Maybe some of us are ambassadors of compassion or empathy or sparkle. of shine. So we all have our of healing,
Yeah.
of light,
Yeah.
So, but those are those are our true callings. Then the format, the vehicle through which we present that, whether it's the healing, whether it's speaking, whether it's through having children and being guides to them, those are all pieces of it.
Yeah. And you, I mean, obviously, like I said, you're a mother to the world, to all these children. You do these beautiful engagements, these speaking engagements, and they're called You Are a Star, Keep Shining for schools. Can you expand on this a little bit?
Well, when I wrote a book, and my mother was a kindergarten teacher in Massachusetts. So I was like, great, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to go into her classroom and read my book. And, I wasn't thinking at first that the first thing that everybody's going to see is you have no hair. And so my program expanded into more than somebody coming in to read their book, which is beautiful when an author visits a classroom and reads their story. And my books have a beautiful message. But I realized that I had the opportunity to share some pieces of my life story and things that I learned into this program to make it more of a inspirational a talk conversation, really, because there's a lot of engagement. So I talk about the power of being ourselves. We haven't talked about this yet. I lost my hair when I was 11 years old. I had long brown wavy hair, and it began falling out in small patches until it really began falling out. And it was hard to get a diagnosis then. We didn't have phones where we could ask Siri what's going on.
Google MD, or what is that, WebMD or whatever?
No WebMD.
No.
So my mother brought me to several doctors before somebody said, oh, it's alopecia. There's nothing we can do. Get her a wig and don't tell anybody. And my mother knew that was the worst advice. But
they told you just to have a wig and don't tell anybody?
Yeah, like you don't need to tell. Nobody needs to know. You can get her a wig and nobody needs to know. Well, first of all, the wigs back in those days for a child, they were just these terrible wigs made more for old people. They didn't fit. I have a little head anyways. And so I became very introverted, very miserable. I wore wigs for 19 years, trying to be like everybody else, thinking that there was something wrong with me. And finally, and it was after I had the idea for the book, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I decided, what if I just gave it a chance? Taking the wig off and being myself. And that's the first lesson that I share with the young people is somewhere between 5 years old and 5th grade, I forgot. It doesn't go just be like everybody else. That's, right? How does it go? Yeah. And they're like, no, be yourself. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I don't know. So we talk about that, and we do talk about the opportunity to choose kindness. When somebody needs a friend, to be a friend. But the beauty of, I think, of life, and depending on if their students are a little bit older, the age of the students, I can share this. You can't mess it up. Sometimes when we go through those challenging situations, it's the challenging situations that lead us to our best and brightest selves.
Yeah.
Well, I would never, ever trade my hair. Or the other big thing that happened in my life is my best friend was earned her wings in a car accident that we were in together. Now that one's hard to say. I would never trade her life for that accident, right? If I had a choice, would I have her in the world versus not in the world? But I don't have a choice there. So the lessons and the experiences that I've come from that experience are precious, precious, precious life gifts.
Yes. And you are still very, very connected to her.
Yeah, I am. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And she comes to you through songs sometimes. And when I was in the car with you, remember that one time? And you're just like, oh, this song is our song,
Yeah. It's she comes in different ways too. I just did a school visit at American Heritage down here in Florida on Tuesday of this week. And there was actually, I won't exaggerate. There were 2 teachers out of the entire school that introduced themselves to me or said their name. And one of the teachers was, as she was walking out, she's like, oh, we have a friend in common. The person has a daughter now with alopecia in the area. And I said, like, oh, I said, what's your name? And she said, Mrs. Lee. And my angel's name was Donna Lee Morrison. And like, that's the, like, out of all the teachers, there were 2 teachers that said their names. And she was just like on her way out. And I was like, oh, I said, Donna's here with me, now too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's beautiful. So the other big thing I share about my books, the experience, about the writing process, right? And that our best work is rarely none and done. And then, though, the message that I think, go there to share with them is, it's the be yourself, it's love. And then I share with them that they're geniuses and that listen up, because I don't think that we all know this and that it's being taught enough in all the schools.
Right.
I believe with all of my heart that each and every one of you is a genius.
Yes.
And we talk about that. And what that means. And then I have a genius cheer and an I shine cheer that I share with them so that they remember to listen to their heart.
Can you show us the cheer?
Would you like to do it? We do. We do the I shine. We do the genius cheer, and then with the older students, we also do a genius declaration, and they can use either one. So both are fun, and I tell them that they're going to copy me. And that we go, I'm a genius.
I'm a genius.
I listen to my heart.
I listen to my heart.
I use my brain.
I use my brain.
I'm a genius.
I'm a genius.
And then I talk to them, though. I let them do it once. And I share then about, I said, I call it a cheer, but I forgot to share why. Because a cheer is something we do with enthusiasm.
Yes.
And I tell them that enthusiasm is one of my favorite words. And can they say that word? Like love. Enthusiasm means to bring energy, light, and love to something. And when we want to be successful at something, we want to bring enthusiasm to that project or to that idea. And just like going and cheering on our team, we wouldn't go, go Bears. I hope you win. But you're playing Tampa Bay.
Wait. You've got to explain why you said Bears. Like your nieces.
Well, I said Bears because you live in Chicago. And
okay, sorry, that too.
My niece's boyfriend plays. He's a running back with the Chicago Bears, Khalil Herbert. But I've had a conversation with him. I said, Khalil, I said, put me in charge. Put me in charge with marketing. We have to create. Everybody, there's all this agreement that the Bears are terrible. And until you start believing that you can do this, and you have to get everyone on board, because if you got, and it was really interesting.
They need to get you there. They need to get you speaking to the Bears.
Well, I told them. I said, I'm going to be the head cheerleader.
There we go.
So I
with Sparkle Nicole right next to you.
Yeah, come on. We'll be the Sparkle and Shine team. But I said, you have to start a campaign. We believe in the Bears. And it turned out the Bengals had a season like that. They've been god awful, like at the bottom of the losing teams, and they won this year, and they had we believe in the Bengals. I'm like, but everybody has to get on board with it. So anyways, I go back and I share with the students that, you have to cheer. And I said, would your team want you to show up like that? They're like, no. I'm like, I know. Well, you have to show up for yourself, with enthusiasm too. So then we do the cheers. We do them with enthusiasm, and the whole space lights up.
I love it. Oh, if only this was taught in school regularly. How amazing each one of us is. That's what so many of us are trying to get us to realize, is our creation ability, our divine sovereignty. We are supposed to become our highest selves. We are geniuses. We do not need to step into it. We need to come to the remembrance of it. It is amazing that you are able to start to ignite that fire within them. That little seed that can grow into this huge, beautiful tree. I love it.
It's so beautiful. I love it too. There's a book that I'm reading right now, and it's a book about the beginning story of a group of schools called the Acton Academies. And they believe in this. And so it's kind of neat too. It's neat, and I learned that from other places. The genius conversation I really got from one of my mentors, John D. Martini, who's one of the gentlemen in the movie The Secret, but also like, his work, like most of them in The Secret, goes well beyond that. He talks a lot about love too.
Yeah.
And that love is really the balance. So like the marriage vows, it's, it's interesting because they got it so right. Through sickness and health, for rich, for poor, for better, for worse. It's not all, oh, if you're nice to me, kind, it's not all attributes that we consider good. So what I love about his work was that, he encouraged us not to get too elated about something or too depressed about something. That has either one of those is a charge and emotion. But when you are elated about something or someone, you may want to say, what are the drawbacks? What are the drawbacks? What are the drawbacks? You're not looking to turn it into a negative situation. What you're looking to do is to bring it into balance, bring it into your heart, where you're centered, where you're empowered, where you're inspired, and where you'll move forward. Whereas sometimes if we move in this direction, what ends up happening is we fall. It doesn't mean that it's not something to be grateful for, to have energy and enthusiasm about. But there's a real difference when you have somebody that's really like excited about something, or like grateful maybe for something. So, and then the opposite is that, when we have a situation where you're seeing only the negatives, when we start looking for the gifts, what's the gift in this? What's the blessing? What's the gift?
Yeah.
It takes the charge, it balances it, brings it into heart center where you're able to move up. And that's what life is about. That's what the other big thing that I share with the students, especially the older ones, is nothing that I say here is going to stop life from happening to you. I certainly hope that it doesn't. It's not my plan or intention. Hope. Life is going to happen. I just want you to know that you have everything that you need inside of you to go through any challenge that life presents you. And the answers are inside of you. Now that answer might say, like, reach out to your coach, reach out to a friend, talk to your parent about this.
Yeah.
But you'll know from, and you can know from inside what the next is.
And now you also you focus on bullying. So especially for all the parents out there that are watching, or if anybody has experienced it themselves, or they just haven't healed that part that they've experienced in their childhood, what would you say about bullying? I think it's such an important topic.
Yeah. So interestingly, I want to just like be clear about that. I don't typically focus on bullying. I was asked to come to there in February. There's Kindness Days now, and it's based off of a young boy that was bullied because he liked to wear pink. And so the football team caught on though, and the football team decided to all come in pink shirts. So now there's a day or a week in February that's celebrated as and it is celebrated as like anti-bullying week.
Okay.
But this I took from Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was known from saying, don't invite me to a war protest. If you want to invite me to a march for peace, I'll be there. But she wanted to stay focused on what she wanted, not what what she was against. She wanted to stay focused on what she was for.
That makes sense.
So yeah, if people visit my website, and I know I didn't give you any pictures to pull up, but if people visit my website, there's a picture there. They wanted me to wear this pink shirt, and they all had on pink shirts that had a big black stop sign on them that said "Stop Bullying." But I found a pink shirt with black stripes that said "Love" across it. And so all the children are in these pink Stop Bullying shirts, and I'm wearing my love shirt. And with the older students, again, I got to share, the reason that I wore this love shirt is because I want to stay focused on what I do want, not on what I don't want. And
that's so powerful.
They get it. It's so good.
And every single word has power. So if you're constantly focusing on that B word, then you're actually putting that word out into the universe. Yeah. So focusing on peace and love and compassion and understanding and patience, that's more important, right? And along those lines, I could not believe this, because when we first met and we were chatting, it might have been the second or third time, but I was talking about the book, The Secret, and how that really started me on my journey of gratitude. And it turned out you actually wrote a book with your friend, like The Secret, before The Secret even came out.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I didn't write the book. I was part of three women that got together and we started a global community called Co-Creating Our Reality. And we did start that a couple of years before The Secret came out. Yep. We had co-creators from all over the world. And when Oprah did her 2 shows on The Secret, they reached out to us, the producers, and they wanted all video footage that hadn't been used anywhere yet. So they asked the 3 founders, as well as, for us to pick some of the active co-creators. And they made a 2-minute segment on our community. And so we weren't going to be there in person, but Oprah was going to say, and wait till you see what these women have done.
Yes.
And the segment was going to run. And both of the tapings went long, and our segment was never shown. I've heard from so many people. So that was a project that I loved. It was really like The Seedling was my idea. I think I came up with the name, and I brought one of my friends in on it, and we talked about it. We might still be talking about it if I hadn't connected with Lilu Massé. And I know some people in your community know Lilu. She lives now, she has dual citizenship, but she's living now in France, and she's Lilu. She's not the Oprah of France. She is Lilu. She has interviewed every spiritual teacher, from Wayne Dyer in Hawaii before he passed, to the gentleman who did the water experiments in Japan, to the Neil Donald Walshes and the Joan Lorenzacos and Joe Dispenza. And she has just created this huge community, and she has written several books that spawned from Co-Creating Our Reality. And she's just
amazing.
It was meant to be hers. When we connected, I was really swirling in the idea. There's 2 times in my life where I've almost levitated. And one of the times was when I was with Lilu, really kind of about, wanting to share this idea with her. If I didn't raise off the ground, then I might never. But
oh my goodness. Well, even that entire journey to the possibility to be on Oprah, that was very swirly.
Yes. Yep. And I've got to attend a show, and they, interestingly, at the taping of the show that I was at with a couple of friends, they said, is there anybody who might want to be interviewed about, we're looking to put together a board of kind of what's going wrong in our world today, and, what do you have to say about it? Of course, I've got something to say. And so there's the Oprah producers. Well, I think maybe they spoke to me first. And I said, really, just about everything in our country, there's very little that works effectively. Our education system, our hospitals and insurance, our prison system, it's all broken. Our financial system, it's broken. And it needs to be healed or transformed. And those aren't really even aren't the same things, it breaks down and then you can transform it, building it newly. And they were like, oh, that's so good. But can you say it and be angry about it? And I'm so upset with myself that I tried to take their direction, because I wish I said, no, I'm not angry about it. I'm just telling it like it is. And that's who I am. I don't want to be like, I know I couldn't even fake it. So I didn't get called necessarily. But, they wanted me to be like, yes, there's, nothing works now. And that's so not who I am.
No.
Who I am is like,
and your aura. It's just like, even if you were like that, the frequency and the energy would not be angry. It would not be.
No. So, not meant to be, but a lesson learned. Like, even when Oprah says, can you be, upset? If it's not who you are, no, I can't be. If it doesn't interest you to hear me, as who I am, then I guess this isn't a match. So.
Right. And honestly, so let's say that everything did really come to fruition with that project. Do you think you would have been as passionate about the books? Do you think you would have even come to the books?
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that moment. There were things in the last few years that I had shifts, and there's even still, I feel like, one more shift at least, right? for me to have before everything really starts to come together. But no, I wasn't ready for that opportunity. Or for that to be the direction of my life, where, you know, I may have stepped into being more of a speaker in that world, and there were some things there that worked for me and didn't work for me, and I wasn't ready to be there. So no, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
You are, and now you're a speaker for children that, you know, might be in a situation where they're afraid to speak up and they're afraid to ask for help, and then they hear your words and they hear the word they needed. They hear the sentence they needed. They feel that love. They feel that frequency. That is priceless.
During my school visits, I offer to have lunch with Laura. And so it's ideally the school picks some of the students who could use time with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do, but like at the last school that I went to, they say, well, Heritage doesn't really like to do that. They like it to be fair. So they did more of a raffle, and we were like, well, we can skew it just a little bit. And I don't know whether they did or not. But so I had lunch with probably maybe just 15 third through fifth graders, and we have a conversation and we talk about challenges. And I say to them, I said, I used to come in and say, you know, who here has experienced a challenge? And most of the hands would go up, because by your age, you know, we have. I said, now I don't have to ask who here has experienced a challenge. We all have, you know, and what we've lived through in these last couple of years. So, you know, one of the best things that we can do is to talk about things, but let's look for, can anybody see some of the gifts that have come out of these last couple of years? Let me tell you.
Wow.
These children were in articulating some of their answers. But in that visit, and I did a Zoom visit, which I really didn't want to do with one classroom, because I usually go and present to an entire school.
Yeah.
But during COVID, some teacher that I know reached out and asked if I'd do a Zoom, and we got onto this topic, and every single virtual hand raised to share what they were going through. And it was not, my father was sick with COVID, or I got COVID.
Right.
I'm wearing a mask. It was, you know, my father just got out of jail. I've done this. And I was like, okay. I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, first, let's talk about confidentiality, and the things that are being shared here are not really meant to be taken in other places. But then also the courage that it's taking for you to speak up and to share these stories. So like that's what happened on Tuesday. These children just wanted to share some you know, things that they've gone through that they had not taken the opportunity to speak up and about, and they were given that like sacred space to be able to share, and for their peers to hear it, which is important, because then they're like, whoa, I'm going through something too. And, you know, you can say like, you know, you don't know what people are going through. So choose kindness.
Yeah. That is so powerful. I can't even imagine as a child if I had had that opportunity to speak out to what was going on. You know, it's like, especially because a lot, when families are in that situation, it's almost like they can't allow their child to express their emotions, because they will then break down. They need their child to be strong so that they don't break down, so that they don't have to admit what they're in. Right. So, wow, what a gift you've been able to give to those children. You are such a gift. Like, I love you to pieces. Obviously, we were written in the stars. But like, you are such a gift to the world. And right now you have your 365 days of love, right? That you're doing?
It's 365 days of gratitude.
Sorry.
Daily posts. It's okay. They're almost.
Mercury. Okay, so first of all, I also have to say, I am seeing everybody's comments like 5 minutes after you write them, because then it has to do with the topic before. And so that's why I haven't been putting it up. That is Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde keeps messing.
Full effect.
Like, even our names aren't showing. I'm like, where are our names not showing? I'm like, Mercury retrograde. Okay, so sorry. 365 days of gratitude. Expand.
You know, just an awesome opportunity to take, you know, at the end of the day, or sometime during the day, to get present to what I'm thankful for the day. And, some people are like, oh, social media is so vile, it's so terrible. Well, let me tell you, it's all about algorithms. My social media is so good and so full of love and inspiration and awesome stuff that the only downside is that sometimes I can get caught up in all the awesomeness that's there. It's ridiculous how much good stuff there is. So because I post words like awesome and keep shining and love and gratitude. So guess what the world, the social experiment gives to me is that.
Exactly.
So it's a beautiful way to use gratitude, to use social media is to track those days of gratitude. So I done it years ago and I'd gotten out of the habit, right? Because it's like, oh, am I going to do this? Am I going to post every day? But something just at the beginning of the year, I said, stop thinking about it and do it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. Like I've had friends that, have gotten off of social media. They're like, oh, it's just all negative, blah, blah, blah. It ended this friendship. And I'm like, you're in charge. You can mute, you can block, like you're in charge of who's on your feed. And it's so interesting that this comes up because I actually have a challenge right now for everybody. It's called Expand Your Mind Challenge. And because there's so many people that it's an actual addiction. There's social media addiction. And you just always have to see, like, what are they thinking of me? What are they saying of me? Are they liking blah, blah, blah? Like we're always on social media, right? And so I'm like, let's take it and turn it around. So my challenge is to read a paragraph, read a page, or read a chapter before you go on social media. Let's start using this tool and flipping it back to bettering ourselves. And here's the thing too, my beautiful friend Amy, I was talking to her about it the other day. And she said, well, that's actually also going to shift the energy that you go onto social media with. If you're about to comment on something and you just read something from Dr. Wayne Dyer's book or something like that, right? Now you're going on to social media with a different frequency and you're going to emit that and share that with people instead of maybe being frustrated going on social media, scrolling around, and then that frustration energy is going into social media, right? So, and I'm actually going to expand it. It's starting with reading, but it's going to go into deep breathing. It's going to be workout exercise, like anything that you want to start implementing into your day, use social media and create a challenge for yourself. Like, I think it's a powerful thing that could start.
It's beautiful. I love, love, love that idea. And, my recommendation or thought would be like, have like a daily, a book that you're reading or a daily guide. But also make sure that you have something downloaded on your phone, whether it's in your, Kindle or whatever it is, so that you don't have the excuse of like.
Right, exactly. Yes. Very, very good point.
We have bridges, right? So, okay. So I'm not saying that you should pull up your phone and log on to your Kindle while you're at a red light, nor should you.
No. But you shouldn't be on social media at a red light anyways. You shouldn't be on your phone at a red light.
So we have bridges here though, right? And that is like a
the 10-minute bridges. Yes, I know.
We can pull up our phone. But yes, what if I pulled up and looked at a daily, something from the Course in Miracles or something from Science, whatever text I enjoy, and did that mindfully instead of just going on to social media. I love that. I'm all in. My sparkly friend, I'm all in.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you for who you are and what you bring to the world. I'm not wearing mine now. I am wearing my citrine crystal that we might have gotten.
Okay, so I am wearing my apophyllite. Okay, so she took me to, my beautiful friend Laura took me to this amazing, what's the name of that shop? Flow Life crystal store in Fort Lauderdale. And the energy when I walked into it, like all the crystals are just so powerful. It was so beautiful. I think we stayed in there for like an hour and a half. It was just like,
I think you bought all the crystals, sister.
I did. And that is where I got my first Tibetan gold.
Oh, beautiful.
And it has dragons on it. It was so funny because I was like, well, how do I know, which one is for me? I've always wanted a Tibetan gong, but I don't know anything about them. And I was holding this one. And she's like, well, let me look. She held the other one and she's like, well, this one has all these symbols. And she's like, that one has dragons. And I'm like, oh, dragon! I'm so connected to dragons. So I was like, this is my baby.
There's no question. No question. Beautiful.
Yes. Oh, good. Now I am actually seeing comments. Thank you, Mercury retrograde, for finally 5 minutes left.
Hi, Lori. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let me pull up your website because I want people to be able to go and discover more about you and everything that you're doing in the world. And also your children, speak to their schools, like have Laura come and speak. How amazing would it be to expand this experience all over the United States, all over the world? Every single child needs to have this genius cheer, and
Yeah, and then we do the keep shining.
And keep shining.
I shine cheer, and it's just like, this is who our children are. It was so beautiful. The at that last school visit that I just did, some of it was virtual. Some of the students were in the media center with me, and other ones were in their classrooms. And I said, how many geniuses do I have out there? I want to see hands. And as the students get older, less hands go up, and then we have a conversation, because we made genius mean science and math, and we learn about people like Einstein or Steve Jobs.
Right.
But purple truck just drove by. We don't have time for that story. But
there's so many stories.
There's so many stories. On the camera in one of the classrooms, I could see some of the students were like jumping like this. I'm like, oh, I've got some jumping geniuses, a whole classroom. Well, afterwards, I went and visited every class, and the group of students that were jumping were the ones that are have the greatest challenges in the school. And I was like, let me tell you.
Yeah.
let me remind you of who you are. I saw your enthusiasm. I know you get this. I know that sometimes schools have a hard time teaching to you, but I'm great, and I didn't say that part actually.
Right. Yeah.
But,
you're like, can you edit that out?
Yeah. No, it's okay. But that it's a beautiful school, and they do have an awesome teacher.
Yeah.
There. So that's a true gift, because that's not the case in every school. But I could just they knew. They could feel that I was speaking right to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we're here. we get it." So,
are any dragonflies flying by right now? Okay,
no.
So I will tell you, I haven't seen a dragonfly in forever. And yesterday, when I walked outside, a dragonfly literally almost landed on my daughter's forehead. A baby dragonfly. It was the cutest thing. So I have to tell everybody that. So one morning when Laura and I were at the beach, this huge dragonfly landed right next to us on this leaf. But then we FaceTimed with Amy and Bali when we were sun gazing, and there were 3 dragonflies, and there were 3 of us, and we were pulling cards, and we were meditating, and it was just so magical. So dragonflies are a big thing for us.
Yes. One showed up in my world the other day. I got to the top of my stairs, and there was a dragonfly right there, and it might have been close to the end of its life, but I was able to pick it up and place it on the ledge, and it flew off, and it flew onto the ledge where I was able to take a nice picture of it. And so yes, that was just a few days ago. So it must have been in anticipation of our
yes. Oh yeah, because I haven't seen a dragon just yesterday. All of a sudden, my daughter literally walks out of the house, and not even 1 second, there's like a dragonfly right here on about to land on her forehead. She's freaking out. She's like, "Mommy, what is it?" I'm like, "It's a baby dragonfly. It's okay. It's not going to hurt you. It's okay. It's a friend."
Awesome.
So my daughters send you so much love. I have to tell you before we end. They were so excited. They actually were like, "I want to stay home. I want to say hi to Laura."
All right.
So
send them all my love too.
Yes.
And sending you a big hug, and everyone else too.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time today. I love you so much. And you are such a gift to the world. And everybody, go get these books. They are just, they're hugs. They're love. They're sparkle. Right directly into your children's hearts. They are amazing.
Yeah. And they're just as much too. If you're on here and you don't have children, don't hesitate to get.
Oh yeah, no, they're still amazing. Yeah,
it's just as much for us as it is, and that's the beauty for me of writing children's picture books, is that the message gets to our young ones. Wonderful, but it also gets to the parents, the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, and teachers and preachers that are reading it to the little ones.
Definitely. So we do need to get going. So thank you. Everybody keep sparkling, spread positivity, abundance, respect, kindness, love everywhere. See you soon. Enjoy your beautiful weekend. We love you.
I love you. I love you all.
Love you guys. Bye.